Hi, everyone. Happy Mother's Day to all of the moms out there, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Ginger Pierce, and I am one of the travel agents with Marvelous Mouse Travels. We are the agency that runs this Facebook group, along with several others that are focused on different destinations. We are also an earmarked platinum authorized Disney vacation planner. And what that means that we are trained at Disney by Disney to be experts in their vacation product. And we are also recognized by them as providing an exceptional level of customer service. So, welcome to Sundays with MMT. This is a weekly live agent panel video series that we do in one of our Facebook groups every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we're really excited to spend Mother's Day evening here in our Disney World group talking with you about Disney's on site value hotels. So, we have a lot of information about these properties that we're going to be sharing with you, but we also want to save some time at the end of the video to take any questions that you might have about these value resorts or just questions about Disney World in general. So, feel free if at any point you have a question or a comment, just go ahead and drop that into the comments under this video, and we will get to all of the questions or comments at the end. We are using a program called StreamYard to go live this evening. And if you do want to post a comment or a question, StreamYard might ask you to approve it to display your username and profile picture. Just know that you don't have to approve that permission. You can decline that and still post your question or comment anonymously, and we'll still be able to interact with you. I'm joined tonight by three of our marvelous agents. Ladies, thank you so much for being here tonight. And if you would please just take a second to introduce yourself, tell everybody how long you've been with the agency, and let us know the best way to contact you if they're interested in planning a vacation.
Okay, happy Mother's Day. My name is Mandy Bishop. I've been with Marvelous Mouse Travels since November of 2019. The best way to contact me is through my Facebook page, Mandy B MMT, or you can email me, mandy.bishop@marvelousmousetravels.com.
Hi everyone, happy Mother's Day. I'm Danielle Elliott. I've been with the agency since January of 2020, and the best way to contact me is my email, danielle.elliott@marvelousmousetravels.com.
Amy, I think you might be muted. So, do you want to let us know all of that information again? Oh, it might be your microphone, actually.
That better now?
There you go. Now you're good.
Okay.
Now you're good.
Sorry.
That's the phrase of 2020, 2021. I think you might be on mute.
I know, right? Let's
Go
try
ahead.
that again. Okay, my name is Amy Grunt, and I've been with the agency since August of 2018. The best way to contact me is amy.grunt@marvelousmousetravels.com via email or on Facebook, Amy Grunt, MMT.
And again, my name is Ginger. I am a master planner with the agency, and I'm actually about to celebrate my 3-year anniversary this coming Friday. And the best way to get in touch with me is to visit me on my blog, which is gingermmt.com. That has links to all of my different social media platforms, as well as just helpful planning tips and advice through the blog as well. So, ladies, I can remember the very first time that I stayed on site at Walt Disney World, and it was well back and several years ago in 1999. And I stayed at Disney's All-Star Music Resort. And I can remember that from the first minute that I stepped onto that property, I could tell that I was in what we call the Disney bubble, because it just was unlike any other hotel that I had ever stayed in. And yet, in a lot of the Disney groups that I'm a part of online, I've seen, especially, since the reopenings, people make comments like there's really no perks or there's no reason to stay on site right now because, there's no dining plans, there's no fast passes. So let's address, before we give an overview of these value on-site properties, let's kind of address the current perks that come with staying on site at Walt Disney World.
Well, I think some of the current perks would be, for any resort actually, is Magical Express is still being offered through this year. And as far as the complimentary transportation to and from the parks, into Disney Springs, I think that's a huge perk, not to mention the Skyliner and the boats. So I still think there's a lot of convenient perks to stay on site.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that a little bit, I think that sometimes folks maybe don't realize how big Disney is as a property.
Yeah.
And I think especially, if you have little ones in tow, having to tow them to the car, get them all packed up, all that jazz, instead of, being able to wait for the bus or popping, your carriage on the Skyliner, at the end of a long day in the parks. I think that is just, it's a huge perk. And I mean, you really can't beat the convenience of that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I agree with both as well. For my family, it's just the immersive experience, the theming of the the All Stars and the Pop Century Art of Animation. When we leave the parks in the evening, we are ready. We're back in our room. We still feel the Disney, the magic. Even when we're back at the resort. So, just that Disney magic is alive the whole time we're there.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are a lot of unique experiences that you can have at the on-site resorts. They play games with you in the pool. There's typically some sort of activity, like for instance, at Art of Animation, you can take animation classes and learn how to draw. Like there's all kinds of little things that you can do on property. You also, have the opportunity. We've talked about the convenience and the transportation to the parks, but actually starting later on in this year, you're going to get extra time in the parks just for being an on-site guest. So they're going to be allowing people, early admission into the park of their choice each day if they are an on-site resort guest. So definitely the perks of being on site are not gone. Just like everything, they just look a little bit different right now. But for me personally, convenience is and always has been the number one factor. It's Mother's Day. We were talking about, being moms, and, those of us who especially are moms to younger kids know the importance of being able to easily get back to that hotel room for an afternoon nap, or get back to that hotel room at the end of the day when everybody's exhausted. Or if your kids are like mine, they've actually fallen asleep, on the way out of the park. And so just having the ability to quickly and easily get back, for me at least, is always worth it. So personally, like I said, I always prefer to stay on site when I vacation to Walt Disney World. And I think that there are probably a lot of travelers who would love to do that as well, but maybe they think that staying on property is just out of reach financially. And that's where these value properties can be a really, really great choice. So what can guests expect from a value on-site resort at Disney World as opposed to a moderate or a deluxe property?
Well, I think that, of course, all Disney resorts are geared towards families, but I think that when you are looking at the theming of a value resort, they are really catered to the kiddos. The theming is kind of larger than life. It's really fun. I mean, especially at like Art of Animation, you have like the huge Ursula. I remember when I was staying at All-Star Movies, you have the 101 Dalmatians, sitting in front of the TV, and that's like a really cute place to like get a picture. And so, I mean, I just think that the theming for kids just really makes it really exciting and just adds to the magic that you already have through staying at a Disney resort.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I totally agree. We're the same way. We love the theming, the convenience of not having to find, parking in the morning at one of the theme parks. It's just easy to hop on the bus, not having to, worry about packing up the car. Definitely convenience.
Yeah. And, I have found in pricing a lot of, offsite options for my clients too, that many times, especially once you factor in things like airport transfers and, parking fees and things like that, typically, I have found that many times, especially if there's a promotion, staying on site in a value property can oftentimes be less expensive than staying offsite at many of, some of the closer offsite resorts. resorts. And so, if budget is your primary concern, which for many of us it is, when we're picking the place that we're going to stay, we want to choose the most, financially wise option that's available to us. And these value properties really do have that competitive price point, and they make it, easier for you to have that Disney magic and that convenience, but still be able to work within, the budget that is comfortable for your family. So let's talk a little bit first about the all-star resorts for a moment. Now, Disney's all-star resorts are comprised of all-star sports, all-star music, and all-star movies. The all-star resorts were actually Disney's very first value properties, and they still offer some of the best price points on site. So let's share with everyone what we see as the pros and cons of staying at the all-stars specifically.
I think one of the biggest pros is the value of it as far as cost wise. As far as kid themed, we stay a lot at All Star Movies, and the Toy Story rooms are one of our favorites. Absolutely larger than life, Woody, Buzz, all of it. It's just I think it's a great resort to stay at. As far as cons with it, it is the farthest resort away from the parks. So you have that little bit of a bus ride, and the buses tend to be a little bit crowded at the resorts. But I mean, you're there to have fun.
Yeah, we're not going to let a bus get in our
way.
A
bus isn't going to ruin it. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
No.
I know for me, actually recently stayed at All Star Music for the first time before COVID, and we stayed in the Broadway section, which I'm a huge Broadway buff, so that was like a dream come true for me. So I mean, I love that theming. I think especially if you're like a music fan, they have a country music section. I think that's really fun. And definitely the price point. I think maybe one of the cons is that, there is only quick service. If you're looking for, some sit down meal options, and a moderate might be, a better choice. But, for a lot of families with kids who are on the go, the food court, quick service area is perfect. And, I mean, for my trips, we're kind of, we like to spend the majority of our day at the parks, so that, that kind of dining option at the resorts works for us.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree. We love the theming. We stayed at All Star Sports a couple of years ago. We're going this summer staying at All Star Movies. It was my kid's choice. But the con, it's probably the size of the room. We're getting, kids are getting older. The 2 beds, not a lot of room to spread out. That's probably the biggest con for us. But we're morning to night Disney theme park people. So we get up, we shower. That's pretty much all we need is a shower to clean ourselves and a bed to sleep in. So we're happy with the All Stars.
Yeah. Of the 3, I have to agree that my favorite one is All-Star Movies. I love the theming of that one. I also really love the way that they have redone the rooms at All-Star Movies. Now, eventually they will do that to all of the All-Stars. They're about, from what I understand, a halfway to 3/4 kind of done with the renovation at All-Star Music. And then they'll start All-Star Sports next. But we really love the Murphy bed that they have in the rooms at All-Star Movies, because when you don't, like Mandy mentioned, having and here's some video footage. This is actually of my husband pulling that bed down. But if you do have older kids, or if you don't necessarily want both beds kind of on the floor space, you can pop that second bed up, and you have a little table there to sit down and eat meals if you want to. And so it is just a really great renovation to have that Murphy bed available there. And one thing we didn't mention was that if you have a larger family, like if you need accommodations for 5 or 6 people, at All Star Music, they have family suites, which do accommodate up to 6. And so if you have, if you don't want to do maybe 2 adjoining rooms, you keep everybody together, then you can choose that family suite as well. But I would echo what you ladies said, that, in my opinion, probably the biggest con of the All Stars versus some of the other value properties is that, it is just bus service. So it's a bus to all 4 theme parks. But it is really convenient if you're primarily like if maybe you have an animal lover and Animal Kingdom is your number one park because it is in that Animal Kingdom resort area. And so it is going to be pretty quickly over there. But you're looking at probably about 10 to 15 minutes to get to the other 3 theme parks from those. So let's talk for a second about Disney's Pop Century Resort. Pop Century is the first ever on-site resort that my kids ever stayed at. And so it does have a special place in my heart. And it typically is our go-to value property whenever we are staying in a value resort at Disney World. So the theming here is around pop culture from the 1950s through the 1990s. So share with everyone what you ladies see as the pros and cons of Pop Century specifically.
I think the biggest pro for Pop Century is the access to the Skyliner, that extra option of transportation to get to Hollywood Studios or Epcot for that matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would agree. We also love the fact that you can walk across the bridge to get to Art of Animation, which is my favorite value resort. But just the flexibility of dining, we love that. And the options to go to Art of Animation.
Yeah, if you get sick of the food court at Pop Century, it is a super quick walk. You can go over to Landscape of Flavors at Art of Animation and vice versa. Those two are really kind of sister properties in a lot of ways.
We're staying here actually for our family trip in October, and I'm so excited. One pro that I think that maybe folks may not think of, but if you have little kiddos, it's kind of an educational opportunity because they have little facts kind of all around the resort of kind of what was happening in history. And if I'm remembering correctly, in the lobby, they have like a really great timeline with like memorabilia and stuff. Yeah. So if you're looking to, kind of sneak in some education on your vacation for your kids, I think it's a good experience for that.
Yeah, that's a really great point. It's interesting that we're talking about this today because actually earlier today at our Mother's Day celebration, I was talking to my cousin and I was talking about the last time that we stayed at Pop Century. We were looking at that kind of timeline of memorabilia in the lobby and we got to the 1990 section because I'm a 90s kid, So we got to the 90s section and they had this little electronic Wheel of Fortune game that my cousin had. Like I remember him getting it on Christmas morning and us playing with that thing for hours. And so it was really cool for me to tell him, like, I saw this at Disney World and it made me think of you. So if you have, and my dad is super nostalgic. He loves anything from the 60s or 70s. And so, we're really excited to stay with my parents at Pop Century just so my dad can kind of experience looking at all that stuff and the memories that come with it. Pop Century also has newly renovated rooms. So if you're looking for that kind of Murphy bed style that we were just talking about, you're going to get that at Pop Century. They also have raised the beds up off the floor. So even though these rooms are smaller, you have the options to kind of slide your luggage up underneath the bed to kind of maximize your space a little bit as well. So I love Pop Century. It's probably my favorite, and I really like its central location too. It's in the ESPN Worldwide of Sports area, which is a pretty good just central location to all of the parks. It's not in Magic Kingdom's backyard, but you're still, 10 minutes or so away from Magic Kingdom by bus. Anything else you guys want to say about Pop Century before we move on to our last one? We cover it all?
Yeah. Awesome. I think so.
Okay, good. So let's move on to our last one, which we have kind of already referenced Art of Animation a couple of different times, but this is just across Hourglass Lake from Pop Century, and this is Disney's Art of Animation Resort. It's actually the only on-site resort hotel in any category to be themed exclusively after Disney's animated classics like The Little Mermaid and The Lion King, but also some of those newer Pixar favorites such as Cars and Finding Nemo. So ladies, share with everyone what you see as the pros and cons of Art of Animation specifically.
This is our favorite one. Mean, from the moment you walk in the door to check in, everything is just bright, it's colorful, it's happy, it's cheery. The walk to the Little Mermaid rooms, which I hear a lot of times, is a con because they are a little bit further away. It doesn't seem far to us. We're walking by all these big statues, great photo opportunities. The Little Mermaid room it's just so cute. I mean, the bathroom is cute, and the suites. I don't know. For us, it's just my favorite. That was my family's first value resort stay. So just like you had mentioned, Pop, the Art of Animation is our number one choice. Plus the Skyliner.
Yeah.
That's always.
I think that the landscape of flavors, the food court area here is just has some different options. Maybe than, kind of your regular hamburgers, chicken fingers kind of a deal. So I think that maybe, if you're looking for something just a little bit different, it's a good choice for someplace to eat.
Yeah, I agree.
I also think it's a perk because it's one of the resorts that accepts pets. Obviously not all the rooms, but some of the rooms do allow some pets. So the dog lovers that want to take their babies with them, they can.
Yeah. That's a great point. And, on the flip side of that, I know I have booked clients at Art of Animation who had children with really severe pet allergies. And so, the fact that that is a pet friendly resort was a little bit concerning for those clients. And so I found out that Disney actually has what they call an allergy deep clean, where you can let them know, hey, we have somebody who is allergic to pet dander, and they will actually use a completely different vacuum cleaner, like completely different cleaning supplies to clean those rooms that, have not had any interaction with pet dander or any of the pet friendly rooms. So they are pretty separated from, the other rooms that are not pet friendly. And if you have allergies, they have things in place. And Disney is also really, really good if you're concerned about that, about communicating with you. This is what we do. This is how we handle it. And so, that's definitely something that I wouldn't necessarily let deter me from this property, because they do have, policies in place for helping people manage allergies and things like that. I love Art of Animation as well. We actually just stayed here in December, and we had 6 people. We had my parents, my husband and I, and my 2 children, and we got to stay in a Finding Nemo family suite. And it was such a great setup for us. The Finding Nemo rooms are the preferred suites, and so they are closer to transportation. They're closer to the main dining area, so it was really convenient to get to anywhere we needed to go. But we had 2 full bathrooms. We had sleeping accommodations comfortably for 6 people. We had a little kitchenette. So if you have a larger family that you need to accommodate, this can be a really great resort choice for you. Ladies, let's tell everybody which sections of the resort are family suites and which sections are standard rooms.
The standard room are the Little Mermaid rooms. I know
Yeah.
I get asked that a lot if there are preferred rooms there, and there are no preferred rooms there. Those are the suites.
Exactly. So if it's Lion King, Finding Nemo, or Cars, it's going to be a family suite. If you're looking for that standard hotel room, it's going to be the Little Mermaid theme. And those are, like, I think it was Mandy mentioned, those are the furthest away. So they're going to be the furthest out. But it's not like, you're trekking across the country to get to food or transportation. That's one of the great things about the Skyliner, is it is kind of like in the middle of the resort. And so, it's not like you're having to walk clear from one end to the other to get on the Skyliner. You're just walking to kind of the middle of Hourglass Lake, and that's where the Skyliner station is for that property. So we've kind of already alluded to this last question a couple of times, but let me know which value resort is your favorite and why it's your favorite.
Well, mine is All Star Movies. Like I said earlier, that was the first hotel that we stayed at with my son when he was in kindergarten. And it'll always hold a special place in my heart. I know I'm sappy. He's 18 now, but still, even after our second trip, when we went back, we stayed at Port Orleans Riverside, and we had to finagle the bus to go to the food court because we had to eat at Roxy's. Had to. So that'll always be my favorite.
Yeah.
For me, I'm going to say art of animation. I love the theming. Especially like the cars area. I just think they've done a really great job, with the theming there. And I love the pool area, and then the little, water play area for little ones.
Mm-hmm.
Art of animation is my favorite as well. Yeah, it is the theming and the colors. And when we leave the parks, I feel like we're still at Disney with the huge sculptures and statues. And I know the Nemo pool has that music underneath the water, and just everything they thought of to make that resort, immersive is amazing to me.
Absolutely. And I have to say that Pop Century is my favorite. And again, I think a lot of it has to do with nostalgia, that being the first one that my children ever got to experience. But also, I love the theming. I'm a little bit into retro things. Like, I love stuff from the 1950s, 60s, 70s. So, and obviously, the nostalgia of the 80s and 90s too, since that's the era, that I grew up in. But I love getting to kind of experience the culture. And like Danielle mentioned, you can learn a lot staying at that resort. Like, you can literally kind of along the walking paths, if you're going out for a walk with your family or you're getting on the Skyliner, you're kind of reading these signs and you're learning about different things in history as you go through. And so I think that that's really neat. So I don't believe that we have had any questions come through live, which, again, it's Mother's Day. We totally understand people are spending time with their families as they should. But just know that if you are coming up on this video after it's no longer live, that you can still put those questions in the comments. It will notify us and we can come back and we can answer those for you at a later date. So don't feel like if you missed out on the live portion that you don't have the opportunity to ask a question. You definitely still can. But thank you so much to those of you who joined us tonight for Sundays with MMT, and also to those of you who might be watching it later. We had a lot of fun chatting with you about the different value properties. And if you'd like to get some information about planning a Disney vacation from any of the agents that you heard from, feel free to reach out to us. And just keep in mind that booking through us doesn't cost anything extra, as opposed to booking directly on Disney's website. And yet you get complimentary planning assistance. And you also get expert advice about everything from which resort is a good option to you, to how to book park passes, which restaurants, all the things. You're going to get Disney expert advice from our agents when you book through us. So next week, we are actually going to be live in our all-inclusive resorts group, and we're going to be giving an overview of Palace Resorts. So we're really excited about a new partnership that our agency has with Palace Resorts, and we have some agents who have recently returned from a training trip, and they are going to be joining us and sharing with us everything that they have learned about Palace Resorts and why it's a great fit, whether you're looking for a family-friendly all-inclusive or an adults-only all-inclusive. You're going to find some really great options with Palace Resorts. And then 2 weeks from tonight, we will actually be taking the week off because I will be on vacation at Universal Orlando and Walt Disney World with my family. So definitely check, in this group that week, because I will be posting from the parks periodically, whether I come upon a really fun cavalcade or, have some interesting news to share. I'll be sure to report back from the parks. But again, thank you so much tonight for joining us for Sundays with MMT, and we hope to see you again next week at 8 p.m. Eastern. Bye, everybody.